Hello everyone, it's me, Mr. Big T Anderson, and today is going to be we're going to do something a little bit more. We're going to do the fan fiction readings again, but this month, the month of May, I'm going to be pushing myself more on this than I ever have. This will be my full-time kind of experiment. I did 2 months ago. I did a few more than that last month. Now I'm going for 15. 15 is going to be my limit because there's a little bit of paperwork involved in this, so... With this, we're going to start off with Gotham fanfiction. There's going to be 5 of them. And then we're going to go to Arrow, and then we're going to go to Flash. And I may mix them up. Depends. But this will be the first one. So, this is The Bridge to Insanity by Swake23. As, you know, if you're new here, I'm just Schmucky Duck reading it. I do not write this. This is not... my story. I'm just reading it because I think good fan fiction should be read. It should have more traction on YouTube, so we're going to go with it. So, with that, this is The Bridge to Insanity. Edward was trying to keep his mind occupied as he strategically rearranged the furniture in the mansion for the 100th time. He had begun to hum softly to himself. That ever-growing feeling of being watched had become so unbearable and painstakingly nerve-wracking that Edward felt his mind starting to go mad with anxiety and perplexed curiosity. Upon scanning the empty room and coming up empty, a shadow caught his eye. Sudden anger flashed through his body, making his face grow hot and his mind to assume the blatant obvious of the situation, that a child had broke into the mansion and was acting a fool. "Hey, who's there? I'm warning you, if you don't come out, I will call the cops." Edward tried to muster all the anger he had left to ensure the intruder took him seriously. Silence. There was nothing but silence all around him. He felt drained and tired. He felt like he could sleep for 1,000 years. Above all, his heart ached of loneliness. He wanted to hear Oswald's voice again, but he knew that he'd never hear it again. The suffocation of his guiltiness is too overwhelming and thick. He slumped down upon a couch and allowed silent tears to moisten his cheeks. He heavily sighed and closed his eyes. "And my mother watches over me." If that were true, then I would see her by now, Ed. Why such a long face? Get it? Long face? A soft angelic voice probed the empty air. Edward opened his eyes and saw Oswald standing over him, with his head tilted to the left and smirking as if he had a really good secret that he didn't want to make known. Edward was so confused yet relieved to see Oswald. He stood up to hug him, but hugged nothing but air. "Ed, I'm not real. You know that, don't you?" Oswald's voice reached Edward's ears, and Edward fell to the ground sobbing. "I need you, Oswald. I thought that killing you would make me feel better, but it just made me feel worse. I'm so sorry for shooting you and leaving you for dead." Tears of pain, tears of sorrow, and tears of anguish poured from his eyes as he explained his pain to the ghost of a lost friend. There, Ed. There. I'm not going anywhere until you move on. Then I would simply disappear, like Kristen Kringle did in the mirror. Besides, you did shoot me, didn't you? Let's face it. This is just a sick grieving method, isn't it, Eddie, darling?" Oswald's voice was understanding, yet prissy at the same time. How do you know about Kristen Kringle and her being in the mirror? Are you a ghost?" Edward quieted and looked up at Oswald, who was lounging on the couch, twiddling his cane back and forth between his hands. "To quote you about ghosts, you said, quote, 'Ghosts aren't real,' end quote. So no, I must not be a ghost, but merely, let's say, a projection of impulse. Same as Kristen Kringle, am I right? The only one that you are not seeing is Isabella, am I right? You see, you only see the people that you cared about if you actually killed them." Oswald mused, smiling. "But what, are you saying that I only see my loved ones after they died at my hands and have become overwhelmingly guilty? I only see Kristen in the mirror that one time. I never saw her before or after that. And Isabella? Are you implying that I'll never hallucinate Isabella because I don't have a hand in her murder?" Edward was exasperated and angered by the truth of things. "Precisely, lover boy. You greatly admired me and are overwhelmingly guilty because you pulled the trigger. Thus, you are also overwhelmingly guilty when you saw Kristen Kringle in the mirror months after you accidentally strangled her to death because you killed her last boyfriend and she was terrified. Oh yes, you." Am I leaving anything out? Oswald's temper was slowly boiling in his imaginary veins because Edward was becoming more and more angry at the topic of the discussion. Edward stood up and grabbed the lamp and angrily chucked it at Oswald, who had vanished by the time the lamp reached the couch. Sighing, he walked over to the couch, picked up the lamp, walked over to the lamp's original stand, and put it back. Grunting, he grabbed it again and chucked it at the wall adjacent to the lampstand. It shattered on impact. Edward then ransacked the whole lounge before sinking back onto the couch, weary and emotionally burnt out. He closed his eyes and fell asleep. 30 minutes later, Edward awoke to a soft chuckling that came from everywhere yet nowhere at the same time. He sat up, weary-eyed and sleep-deprived, tried scanning the room again, but sleep took over and he slumped backwards upon the couch, letting his heavy eyelids close and a dreamless sleep prevailed, or so he thought. Oh, Ed, you big, silly, lovesick lover boy, how on earth do you cope with such tragedy and pain? And suffering? Oh, you're just such a pathetic loser. Letting your emotions get in the way, you'll never run Gotham that way. You'll just be put back into Arkham at this rate. The laughter consumed Edward's mind as it slowly ate away at his soul. Oswald's voice echoed in the void, kept telling him that he was a loser and that he'll never run Gotham, being as pathetic as he was. He taunted and teased Edward with unearthly malice and hate. Oh, what would you even call yourself? McRiddles? Riddle-dee-dee? Oh, how about Riddles the Clownfish? I would call you, I don't know, the Riddlegeist. You know why? Because you would haunt people with your stupidly complex riddles. That's why. Oswald's voice was crisp and angry with good reason. He was right, though. He needed a name for himself. There was someone inside of him dying to come out, but who was the question? Being good wasn't worth it anymore, and his evil side wanted to come out and play. So, that was The Bridge to Insanity. So, if you liked it, you know what to do, comment down below. But also, I'm going to have some links down there. Give the author some love, because if you enjoyed it, you can read it there and give a good review. That's how they know they're doing good work. So, that was the first, hopefully, of many. Wish me luck, and have a good one, everybody.